Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Healing Conversations. My name is Inav Avni, and I use the emotion code, body code, and belief code to help people suffering from chronic pain, chronic illnesses, or unexplained medical conditions. This podcast, Healing Conversations for Anything Chronic, is here to bring stories and messages of alternative healing, natural healing, to anyone that needs to hear the message. So let's get started. Today with me in the studio, Angela Lerro. Angela, it's so lovely to have you here.
It's so nice to be here. I'm so thankful to be part of your podcast today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So tell us something about you.
So I'm a holistic mystic. I'm a holistic practitioner and I specialize in mystery diagnoses, autoimmune conditions, Lyme disease, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, and other conditions that people can't really eradicate. So I work with them on an emotional, spiritual, physical, and energetic level so that they can transform their lives from being chronically ill to mindfully well.
Amazing, amazing. That sounds very well needed in today's world.
Absolutely. And I love the work that you're doing too. This work is it needs more awareness. It really does, because I truly believe that's the root cause of so many people that are suffering with chronic illnesses, and really any illnesses. Anytime the body is diseased, there's always an emotional component or a spiritual component that's behind it that's causing that blockage.
Yeah, that's definitely what I believe. Um, and the more I walk in this area, the more I realize that there's so many different ways to release these blockages and release the condition that people are suffering from. But there's always something. There's always like a point that you reach that, and then you find everything else. And sometimes finding that point, well, that's a like a jigsaw puzzle, I think.
I think so too. It's it's always the rock that's left unturned. That
Mm,
so many people want to chase these physical symptoms, and they're doing the right diet and they're doing all of the right things, and they don't realize that the answers are right inside of them. And I even tell my clients, I am the compass, but you're the map. And I
mhm.
can guide you to do all of these holistic practices, but it really takes you to unlock the box. I can help you find the box, but you've got to unlock the box.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get back at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your story, and then slowly how you got to be where you are today.
Yeah, so I have kind of of a little of it's a long story, so I'm going to try to paraphrase as much as I can. But my whole life, I actually suffered from mysterious health issues, and they ranged in every single direction that you could possibly imagine. I basically lived at the hospital, I lived at the doctor's office. If there was a prescription, I've probably have taken it. I've probably taken an antibiotic. I've lived on antibiotics. Um, but we could never really understand why, because even though I had all of these chronic health issues, I was still relatively healthy. But there was always the but, like, she's healthy, but she's got this, and this. So I really learned how to function on a with like low level inflammation and these chronic health issues because they just became a part of my life. However, as I got older and into my 20s, they started to become a little more aggressive, but still mysterious, because even though I'd go to Western doctors, we could never actually find anything that was seriously wrong. Um, it's like, oh, it's a cold, or it's a flu, it's bronchitis. I'm like, well, why am I getting bronchitis like 6 times a year? Um, why am I having allergies to all of these foods? Why am I having all these stomach issues? I mean, yes, we can diagnose But what I was finding, that all of these diagnoses that I was getting, I felt like they were symptoms, like chronic allergies. Well, your immune system isn't so strong. Well, but why? In my 20s, my immune system should be pretty good. And I was living in Los Angeles. I mean, I understand I was working in a stressful environment, but I couldn't really understand why my health issues. I mean, it started from when I was a child and just progressively got worse as I got older, up until I was 28 years old and I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So then that really, for me personally, raised the bar of, well, now why am I getting breast cancer at 28? And then, so that's where my journey, though, really started for me, when I really started to question my health, my life, my whole lifestyle as a child. What was this culprit that just led me down this path to breast cancer? So that's when I started to learn about holistic health. And Western medicine started to fail me, because after I had breast cancer, even though I had a mastectomy, I luckily didn't have to have any chemo or radiation. But after I had my mastectomy, I started having a lot of, they called it post-cancer syndrome, which was just an umbrella diagnosis of all these random symptoms that I started to have. And that's when I met a Reiki master at my cancer center. And I started working with her and started incorporating energy work into my life. And when I started utilizing my gifts as a medium, so that's something that I also had as a child, very early on. Since I was 5, I started developing clairvoyance and started to see other souls and other beings. It would just show up in my bedroom in the middle of the night. And I thought for sure I was having these nightmares. And then I was like, wait, I'm actually awake. I'm not even sleeping. And I'm having these visions and I'm seeing things, I'm seeing souls. But then as I got older, it was something that I just like to stuffed down, because I mean, how do you go to school and tell people that you see things? And I didn't want to be the weirdo. So it was something that I really kept to myself. Only 1 or 2 of my friends actually knew about it. But it was something that my dad carried into his life, but he unfortunately passed away when I was 9. So it was something that I always looked up to, because he carried this amazing, incredible gift of clairvoyance as well. But after losing him at a young age, unfortunately, I felt like my teacher had gone, and I don't know what I'm doing with all of this information and these experiences. So I just kind of stuffed it down and pretended it didn't exist, until I was 28, when I met this Reiki master, who then, as I was working with her, it was crazy how, as I was working with her, my body started to heal on such a deep spiritual level. Because at the time, Western medicine was not doing me any good, but Reiki is what really started to bring me back to health. That was the first thing. The second thing was, as I was doing this work, I actually started developing my gifts as a medium, and my gifts as being a clairvoyant. And I started to learn through my Reiki master how to utilize them. And what I was realizing was that my gifts were actually utilizing me. And I was learning about how psychic energy, as we hold on to it and we don't use it, it can actually attack us. And that blocked energy can be can create so much blockage within the body that can truly create a dis-ease.
So is that what you're attributing all of the earlier challenges that you were going through?
No. So I worked with her and I started to unlock these gifts, and I ended up starting a holistic practice utilizing Reiki and clairvoyance and intuition into my practice. And even though I was healed in a lot of ways, there were still some underlying things that I just couldn't figure out. Fast forward about 6 years later, I had to have an unexpected surgery. Ironically, it was just after I received my Reiki master and teacher attunement that this happened. It happened 2 weeks later. So about 4 or 5 years later, I had to get an unexpected diagnosis of thoracic outlet syndrome. And basically my top rib was compressing my subclavian artery and my brachial plexus nerve. And that surgery brought on a lot of complications. And again, it was like, well, how is it that I have all of these complications? And when again, at the time I was only 35 years old, they should have not had all these complications.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, found out that these complications led to late stage. I had all these neurological issues that I found out were a product of having late stage neurological Lyme disease. And I was living in a water damaged home. So I had mold toxicity. And then I found out I had several co-infections of the Lyme, Babesia, and Bartonella. And it took several years after the surgery. It took about 2 years for me to find out that this is what the culprit was, because I was just getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And we couldn't figure out what was causing it. And I was living in Los Angeles. Lyme disease is not very common out there, so they don't test for it. And so growing up in Pennsylvania, there was something inside of me that told me that I had to go to the root of where I lived to get to the root cause of this, whatever it was in my body, before I knew it was Lyme, to find out what was causing this. So, I was like, I went to the root to find my root cause. And so I did that. And that's how within 2 weeks of being there, I found out it was Lyme. And it changed my entire life.
Mm-hmm. And then, so finally you knew what it was.
Yeah.
What next? I mean, diagnosis is just the first step, isn't it? Now there's the recovery and the healing.
Oh my gosh. So at the time, I was only 89 pounds. The Lyme was eating me like alive. And I went to my first Lyme literate doctor, and he said, "You are too sick for me to treat. You're going to have to figure this out and get a little healthier before you can see me, because I'm afraid if I give you an antibiotic or an herb, it's going to be too strong for your body and it could kill you." And I just remember being like, well, here I am. I'm a holistic practitioner, and I've had my practice at this point for 5 years, and I've helped people get through Lyme. But what I didn't understand is that every diagnosis of Lyme disease affects everybody in a different way. And the way that my body was responding to it was something that I had never experienced before. So I had utilized every tool in my toolbox, and I felt hopeless. And at the same time, I had something called mast cell activation syndrome, and which created something called a histamine intolerance in my body. So basically, everything I was eating was causing me to go into anaphylaxis. The only thing left for me to eat was meat. So I started embracing a low histamine carnivore diet, where I had to search high and low for a company that sold non-aged meats, which I found in Chicago, called Billy Doe Meats. And they were the only meat that my body just accepted. So I lived on their meats for 2.5 years to help strengthen my body, to nourish my body. And I successfully gained 12 pounds very quickly. But during that process, that was what laid my foundation of being able to be strong enough to accept my treatments. And then I started learning how to detox. I learned all about circadian rhythms. I learned all about drainage pathways, the lymphatic system. And I really went on my own quest to not only to help myself, because let me tell you, if it was just for me, I wouldn't have gotten up in the morning, but because I had a responsibility, I have this holistic practice that I was not willing to shut down during this whole process. It was what gave me the reason to get up in the morning. And because I was at this point, my whole practice was remote. So I was doing everything over the phone. So it didn't really matter if I was in Los Angeles or Pennsylvania. I chose to be in Pennsylvania just so that I'd have support of my family rather than being in Los Angeles and granted, I had to have support of my friends, but I felt that since Pennsylvania is the number one state for Lyme, I'd have the most support here. So that's why I chose to come home to get treatments. So it took about three years to put me into remission, but it's been the most beautiful journey, because not only has it helped me heal, but it's helped me expand my knowledge as a practitioner. And so now my practice is mainly targeted towards the autoimmune, chronic illness, the Lyme, and the chronic inflammatory response syndrome community.
Wow, what a journey.
Yes, it's been a very, very long, but it's been a journey, but it's been a very divine gift too. I truly feel like this was almost like it was like going to school, like we're in earth school. We're human beings, or spiritual beings having a human experience. So I guess this was the human experience my soul signed up for.
But it's interesting for me because, some of my clients, for example, that have had, similar but different experience to yours, in the sense of a lot of illnesses as they were growing up, and kind of constantly having to battle health conditions. It feels like a lot of the time there is the emotional part of all of that, and also kind of like not trusting that they can ever get better, not trusting that they can ever get well, and constantly having to fight that. I'm used to being unwell. How do I now do being well? It's something that seems to be quite challenging for people.
Yes. I just actually made a post about this last night, because so many people say to me, well, am I lost cause? Am I going to heal? And I said, it's your decision, not mine. It's, healing starts in our mind. You've got to believe that you can. And I don't mean just say that you believe. I mean, you've got to really believe in it, because you can. But the brain is where it starts.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, for sure, that's my experience as well. The people who don't heal is because they're not there yet. Even if they say, I really want to heal and I'm ready to heal, there's usually other layers that are holding them back.
Yes, I 100% agree. 100% agree that the emotions that come with healing are so strong, because you've been feeling like your body's been hijacked for so long. It doesn't even feel like your body anymore. And you've got to reestablish that relationship with your body before you can really heal. You've got to tap into that trust. And when you go through such a, like, the harder the illness, the harder it is to try to trust your body, because you don't even trust yourself. So
And you do, right? I mean, people say they feel like their body betrayed them for such a long time. So,
Yes.
so how can they trust it? But how do you trust it? What are some steps for people to get back this trust with their body?
So the first thing I say is start establishing a routine. That's one of the best ways. And I don't mean just it's in it like might be even something small. Like if you have to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom right when you have to go. Don't hold it. That sounds, but you'd be surprised. People don't even do that. If you're thirsty, drink water or drink something. If you're hungry, don't push through. Just eat.
Hmm.
Um, if you're tired, go to sleep, even if it's in the middle of the day. Those simple practices I have found have made such a profound, like, especially for me, they're they've created such a profound effect in my healing because it was my body started to say, "Oh, she's listening to me."
Yeah,
You
it's a
know.
permission, right? It's permission for yourself to act on these sensations that you're noticing. Um,
Yes. Yes, if you're feeling scared, you know, allow yourself to feel it. You don't have to keep braving through it. If you're feeling angry, scream in a pillow, journal about it. Heck, if you can't talk to anybody about it, talk to yourself about it. Pray about it.
yeah,
Go for a walk. Get yourself some sunshine. Making sure that you're eating the right foods and you're laying off the processed foods and the sugar, especially if you're unwell. Making sure that you're giving yourself the food, like especially for me it was protein and animal fats that really helped satiate me, and it really produced a very strong healing response because I felt so grounded and in my body. Despite I actually came from a plant-based background,
mm,
because when I had cancer, that was what every doctor was telling me was eat plants, eat plants. So I really adopted a plant-based lifestyle, and I was getting so sick because my body could no longer process the oxalates and the salicylates and the histamine that these plants were producing in my body. And so you've got to learn to trust what your body wants, not what you think you want. So just giving, if your body's giving you signals, it's really important to tap into those signals and start listening there first.
yeah. And I guess what you said as well, right? I mean, going on a meat diet when the whole world is trying to move away from that, and then actually, having the courage again to listen to your body and say, this is actually the thing that is probably the only thing that is saving me. Then I'm gonna
Yeah.
ignore, the,
Yes. Yes. And people telling me all the time, how are you going to survive on just eating meat? Your cholesterol, how do you go to the bathroom? I like, well, to be honest, it literally has healed every chronic symptom that I had from this condition.
Mhm.
And it gave me my life back, and I will constantly shoot it from the rooftops. And it's actually part of my healing protocol when I work with clients. Some of them can't handle a 100% full carnivore diet, so I will start them on an animal-based diet or a ketogenic diet, but I prioritize diet now in my practice as a foundation of healing before my clients can even get into the deeper stuff.
So is that something that you're recommending for all or most of your clients to go on a meat diet?
Yes, yes, 100%. We need
So,
the foundation of having animal protein and animal fats that can really help with our bodies. Especially protein and fat are two essential nutrients that the body needs, especially if you've got some neurological conditions. Fat helps heal the nervous system, it helps the brain, um, and protein helps build the muscles, and supports the body. So I feel like that has been, and I'm just seeing it in my clients too, seeing their bodies heal in miraculous ways on this diet has also been just as profound as my own healing.
but how do you know? I mean, I guess yes. I mean, I have seriously no idea what is better, and I guess that it really depends on each person. But how does one tell if they should go on a carnivorous diet, or if they should actually go, back to greens and actually have more plants and all of that? How do they tell? What is the
I
thing?
well, I always suggest it for at least 30 days. That's
Mhm.
usually the best way to tell is how do you feel after 30 days? How do you feel after 60 days? Usually by then I can tell, okay, how is your body responding? That's why some people I keep, and that's how we balance it. I will never just depend. I mean, some people I have to do this with, but some clients, their adrenals are so taxed from chronic illness. So I'll generally have them do like more animal based. So until they can get adapted, and then we slightly start taking these plants out and see how we do. There's always a balance. Everybody has a different body, and there's so
Mm.
many different variations of the carnivore diet. There's, my diet, which is just I only eat red meat, and then there's a variation of the carnivore diet, which is any animal product, so seafood, pork, chicken, beef, ruminant animals, butter. So I don't, consume any dairy. And then there's, some people that just want to do meat and fruit and honey and organs. So there's so many different variations.
Mm.
And as long as in my opinion, I'm like, as long as they are getting 80% of their diet from animal protein, I'm happy with that. Um,
Mm.
but I would love for people to, get more on a carnivorous diet, but I know that not everybody is ready for that, and that can be stressful if you force somebody into something that they're not ready for. So kind of meet people halfway of like, well, where are you? What do you feel comfortable with? And how can we create something where we meet in the middle?
So
And
for
then we
you,
just evaluate, like how are you feeling? Do you have more
yeah.
energy? Are you sleeping better? um, are you doing things that you haven't been able to do? Like, I have a client that wasn't able to drive for 3 years, and we started her on a carnivorous diet. She started driving again. Like, it's been, I've had people like myself who couldn't walk. I was fainting 15 times a day. When I started my diet, that was one of the first things that alleviated for me, was that I stopped passing out, I stopped fainting, and I ended up getting my driver's license back. Because of having all these fainting spells, my doctors unfortunately took my um, driver's license away as well. So it's I always use myself as an equals one experiment, and before I work to see if it's alleviating anybody else's symptoms before trying it out. And so I guess I bring it up. I always ask if people are open to trying it, and then once they do, I we look at how they're responding.
So someone would come to you. The default would be to recommend going on the meat diet, but then maybe some other people you would be able to advise actually the meat is not helpful. Go on a plant base. Would you do that as well, or is it really for you? It's really about encouraging the more meat.
Encouraging more meat.
Yeah.
Even if you can't eat meat, then I would incorporate like eggs. You know, um,
Mm.
eggs. Maybe if you're like maybe more fish, or getting a sustainable um, like pork and chicken. Some people they can't digest beef because their body is just too inflamed, that digesting certain cuts of beef is just too difficult because they have like low stomach acid. So we start with lighter meats so that they can work their way up. So maybe we start with eggs, maybe we start with corn and soy free chicken and poultry, and we work our way into finding a diet, a form of this diet that would be beneficial. I have some clients that they do well with venison. For me, in the beginning of my diet, I couldn't really digest beef because my stomach acid was so shot from the Lyme. So
Mm.
I mainly ate, and I still mainly eat just because I love it. I mainly eat goat, veal, lamb, and venison, are my four protein sources, and I love beef and I eat it. I do eat it more now just because it's, I can eat it and I do feel good on it, but goat and lamb and veal are kind of my top three, and then beef.
And nowadays, how would you describe your own, all the medical history, all of these challenges that you had? Where would you say that all of this today at the moment?
I haven't felt this good in my whole life.
Hmm.
Um, I know that this carnivore diet has been like 80-90% of my healing, but it wasn't the only thing that helped me heal. And so I love to give this diet a lot of praise, because even when I have flare-ups, it still makes me more resilient than when I was eating plant-based and, with my old lifestyle ways. So um, just by being on this diet, I've been much more in tune with what I need and how I feel, and I have a lot more energy than I ever had. And so I can't like knock that this isn't what's sustaining me and how I feel best. Um, but yeah, I would say that this has been such a profound part of my healing that I will always shout it from the rooftops.
And I think really it's important to, to tune into what works for you. I mean, for you, for the individual, there is no point in saying, because it's meat, it's not good or it's not right, because that would be missing a point.
Right.
Um, and
And your
like you
source
say,
matters.
yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
um,
And your source matters too, especially when you're going through an illness. You want to make sure that if you're going through some sort of chronic illness and you are eating an animal, I like happy animals create happy bodies.
mhm,
So, um, and I truly believe that when I found sources that came from, regenerative farms and animals that were treated with dignity and killed with respect, that my body responded much better. And I mean, yes, do I eat meat occasionally from butcher shops or whatnot? Yes, I do now. But when I was going through a really challenging time with my body, I wanted to make sure that the meat that I was getting came from a very sustainable, regenerative,
mm,
happy farm. So I
yeah.
truly believe that really makes such a difference with our health, is our source.
So let's talk a little bit about, how you help your people. So other than the diet that you're talking with them about, what else do you do with your clients now to help them heal and reduce the problem, the challenges?
Yeah, so that's just like that's like one part. So I would call it the physical part.
Hmm.
So the other thing that I do is I do energy work. So I do remote Reiki over the phone, but I also work intuitively with my clients and with their body. So as I was saying earlier, having this gift as a medium, I never really understood what to do with it. And
Hmm.
then having this gift of clairvoyance, then I also continue to develop clairaudience, claircognizance, and clairsentience. So it was something that I started to embody. And so I call myself the holistic mystic, since I balance both the holistic world with so I do not only just diet, but then I also focus on helping the body balance. So I use when I'm working with my clients and working on their energy, I intuitively connect to them and see what's going on, where the imbalances are coming from. And
Hmm.
then we pull at the end of the session, I give them a reading of what I saw. So sometimes, depending, everybody's different. So sometimes I'll see a past life trauma that their body is still holding on to, that they're not even aware of. Sometimes I'll see different organs that are stressed, that are holding the disimbalance, and that's something that I'll either have them, if they have a Western doctor, I will have them go to their doctor and say, hey, have them run this A, B, and C test because these organs are stressed, and I'm seeing that either, you've got elevated liver enzymes, because I'll see that, or I'll see a thyroid issue, or there's some sort of ailment. And that's actually how I started to build my practice, because that was the first thing that started to come through before anything. And as I was sending my clients to get these tests done, they were coming back to me showing me that, hey, you're right. And they would tell their doctors about me, and then their doctors started sending me their clients or their patients. So I started to work my way up, establishing myself in the medical community, but then also, because this is also a spiritual practice, that I also started building my credibility in the spiritual community. So I've always been kind of a foot in both worlds, because I feel that they both interconnect. So then I started seeing emotions come up. And so everything started to come up, and I would see different things. And then I kind of bridged the two together, so that as I'm seeing these things, I work with you and I coach you how to get through them. So whatever it is, whether it's a physical, emotional, spiritual ailment, we are bridging the 3 or 4 together to create a holistic healing approach, so that your body can heal itself whole, rather than looking at everything separately like Western medicine does. I combine the whole picture.
And how long does it usually take for? I mean, of course, it's an impossible question, impossible answer, I know.
No, yeah.
But how long would a person usually walk with you until they, I guess, healed, or until they are managing their conditions?
So I say about 6 to 9 months. I've seen the best results, but everybody is different. So basically, my clients work with me twice a month. I do the energy and Reiki and emotional coaching, and I guess you could say metaphysical part of the practice is in one session, and that's 2 hours. And then 2 weeks later, I do the holistic coaching, a call. And that's where we talk about your diet, your lifestyle. We go over, your drainage pathways, making sure that you're, sweating every day, pooping every day, grounding exercises, getting sunlight. Those are just a few of the things that I talk about in my practice. And then we talk about if there's a detox protocol, we'll start a detox protocol. If there's a supplement protocol, I really try not to use too many supplements, but in the beginning, sometimes those supplements are helpful as long as the body can tolerate. If you can't tolerate supplements, then I usually will use some sort of organ meat, because organ meats are very bioavailable and they're very nutrient dense, and they have a lot of the supplements, like a lot of the vitamins and minerals that we need in these supplements, we can get in these organ meats. So again, if a client doesn't tolerate supplements, we switch to organs. But those are all some different things that I incorporate, and then we work together. And some people, it's more emotional than it is, and that's what's coming up. So I might incorporate a couple extra calls or energy sessions throughout the month, just to help balance their nervous system, because I think that's also a really important tool, is balancing the nervous system, reprogramming the mind, and grounding yourself into this new vision of you being healthy.
And I think that's I think that's key, because people really who've been suffering from chronic conditions for such a long time, when I ask people what is in your future, what do you see for yourself, a lot of the
Yes.
time they just say, be healthy, or have energy in my body. Wonderful, yes, let's do that. But what about the rest of it? So I definitely get that.
Yes, it's more so than, it's not just the thought. It's what does that feel like for you?
Mm.
And how does that feel? What does healthy feel like? What is healthy for you? And that's something that I even give my clients. So after every session, I give my clients homework. So
Yeah.
they have 2 weeks to complete their assignment, and then we add on a different type of homework. So, we have the spiritual and the emotional homework, and then I have the physical homework, making sure that they're dry brushing, they're taking their Epsom salt baths, they're standing outside and getting their sunrise and sunset, they're eating the food that, the off on the plan that we discussed. So it's a very intensive program, but I
Yeah.
work very closely with my clients. So they're all in the beginning, they're all on a very short leash, as I call it.
Nice. So, can you give us a couple of case studies, success stories, something that touched you specifically, of someone that had a very serious condition at the beginning and actually managed to heal themselves completely?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Gosh, I have so many. So actually, I had a client whose son had, this is actually one of my favorite stories. Her son was in a psych ward, and she had just sent me a photo of him, and I did an energy session on him. I never knew them. I didn't know what was going on. But after I did the session, I called her and I said, your son, I know that your son might appear that he's going through psychosis, but he needs to get to a neurologist because he's having severe brain inflammation from an infection. And if you don't, your spirit guides are telling me that these doctors are going to hurt him because they're giving him the wrong medication.
Mm.
And when it's your first session with somebody and it's their child on the line, and you're just thinking to yourself, I really hope I'm right, because I'm telling this woman that she needs to get her son out of this psych ward and get him to a neurologist. And so she did. She actually told me, she goes, deep in my heart, before before he was even taken there, I knew that there was something seriously wrong, but
Mm.
the way he was acting, I didn't know what to do. So thank you for giving me this clarity. So she took him out of the psych ward and took him to a neurologist, and found out he had a severe encephalitis in the brain,
Mm.
and caused from Lyme disease,
Right.
and some other, I think he also had Bartonella. And this doctor put him on the right medications. And I worked with this whole family, because I worked with the mother, because I don't think people realize how much caretakers really need the emotional and energetic support to take care of their family.
Yeah.
And I worked with their son, and as he worked with me, and yes, he did have to take this medication, which if you got it, sometimes you need the medication, but this, I remember the first time he came to me, when she started she started bringing him to me, to my practice. And the first time he showed up at my house, he was like this, like he couldn't put his fingers down because the inflammation was so bad. Um, you know, he couldn't even walk. And by the time we were done working together, he started playing soccer again. um, he's I don't see them all that often anymore, but I'll touch base with them here and there, and
Mm.
he's doing really well. He got to finish school. He's thriving, and it's amazing. That's just one story
Yes.
that, and I have several, so I could go on. But that was, I think for me, that was the most like soul filling to see somebody to, like, I was so proud of my guides. I was like, thank you, because I would have hate to see somebody die from, because we see this all the time in Western medicine, is that doctors just want to prescribe something and it's not the right prescription, and then people get severely injured or even die because they're taking the wrong medications. And
Yeah, we definitely hear a lot about these kind of cases. Angela, before we finish for today, what message would you like to leave our listeners with?
so I think right now it's kind of where I am right now in my messaging is, healing is possible, and my case is no different than yours, and your case is no different from anyone else's.
Mm.
Your body's ability to heal is incredible, and it wants to heal. It's just a matter of making that decision to heal, and you can heal yourself. I promise.
I love it. I love it. And I think there's so many people I know that, would probably really want to get in touch because maybe they've tried everything, or maybe they just feel that there is another element that they just can't get to by themselves. So I really encourage anyone to, of course, get in touch with Angela. All of your information and your contact details will be in in the session notes. So people are really welcome to get in touch, find out more about you, and take it where it needs to go.
Oh,
And
that would be wonderful. That would be
yeah,
so wonderful. I'd
I
be
hope so.
honored. I would be honored to serve. I work, remotely, um, and I work with clients all over the world. So I'm here to support you all in any way that I can, and I'm here to help you learn how to heal yourself. I'm not the healer. You are.
I love that. Angela, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was such a such a special podcast, and I'm so I'm so loving what you're doing for this world, and I'm just so happy that our souls connected in this
Mm,
lifetime.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.